This is the one and only Stock Car Facts. And this is part two, the final installment of Kyle Harvey's spotter presentation. Not that we won't have a few shorts here and there. Thanks for listening.
And the biggest thing, and getting back to the technical side of stuff like that, you have to stay calm. You have to be calm. You have to be the voice of reason. You know, and like the story I said about Danica Patrick, you know, saying, you know, she agreed that, yeah, it's going to be a long season. You know, we have a job to do. We need to concentrate on that. You know, and that's how you got to be, even though they're chewing your ass off. I mean, just literally, you check to see if you got any left. You know, what I mean? Just, you know.
Plus, you're being recorded.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they play you back. You have to watch what you say.
Well, just to give you an idea where NASCAR has came to, they have a 40-foot tractor trailer that has modules of recording devices in it. Every transmission that goes across the airwaves, whether it's the concession stand asking for more napkins or a spotter, you have to register your radios with NASCAR. So, and it's all for legal things, like if you tell your driver, go get him, take him out, run him over, and then later you say, we didn't tell him that, he just did it on his own. Well, no, here we go. Listen, how about that? You know, so they do that for their own protection, you know what I'm saying? So, but now, again, that's that roller coaster ride that I talk about. We haven't peaked and started going out of, down the other side yet, and it just progressed from being good old Southern boy sport and just no different than when I race back home and like Saturday night racing, you know, it just at a more prominent level, you know, but all this other stuff, and then with the sponsors that came in and the TV numbers and the packages, and it just got to be, you know, we had guys, you'd be 100 degrees being at Daytona 4th of July, and because of the sponsor, the team manager would come over and tell you that, you know, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean. And you'd have to take the tools out and clean. You couldn't just sit and take a break. You know, but before that, they would go, hey, go sit in the lounge and cool off. You know what I mean? And now it's, you know, it's all business. All, you know, even in your own team, there was a lot of camaraderie and looking out for each other, but no goofing off. You know what I'm saying? No.
Kyle, you alluded to how, and it's in the news now, how some of the drivers are being more vocal about the playoff system. How it's, and I guess Kyle Petty said that they haven't been stock car since '59.
59.
Which is true. He's right.
And that's what I'm saying too. Is, you know, what I always say, like I talk about Dave Marcus or even Earnhardt or somebody from that era. You know what I mean? Like Trickle even. I always said that those guys were when cars were made of wood and men were made of steel. You know, and that was my little phrase that I had. You know, and they toughed it out. They didn't have the cool suits. They didn't have power steering. They didn't, you know, Dave Marcus, for an example, he learned to wear wingtips so he didn't burn his feet. You know, and when he raced, you know, and then they finally came out with fire shoes. You know, cool suits and all that stuff. You know, and I got to see all that progression. I got to see it grow, and then I got to see it fall off the cliff. You know what I mean? So,
how about these cars? What do you think about the next gen cars?
You're not live. You can get as opinionated as you want. No, I'm just recording. You're not live. Go ahead.
The current car is from Jim France. Jim France owns IMSA, and he owned road racing. He was more a road racer than Bill or Junior or Bill Senior, and somewhere along the line, when they first built this car that they're currently running, with my 23-year association with IMSA, the first car I went and looked at, I go, this is an IMSA car. It's a road race car. It's completely a road race car. It's got a belly pan. It's got a single lug nut, which they kind of preach about, but it's what they ran. Where the sport went is, like, give you an example, steel wheels, 5-lug steel wheels. Now they've got these wheels. These wheels are $1,200. Just the wheel itself are $1,200 a piece now.
They reinvented the wheel.
They don't even come with the tire on it, you know, or the nut. You know, I mean, it just, you know, and it just this, you know, we went from having no engineers to having one engineer. Now they have probably 5 or 6 on each team. Plus they have what they call, if you've listened to the race or watched the race, they call it going back to the war room, Well, they're got live feed. There's 15 guys over here at Hendrick or at Penske, and they're all on the radios and they're watching, and they got real time data in front of them, and they're all like throwing, sending in, to a quarterback, sending in a play to the quarterback, and that's what's going on all the time. And again, like I said, even as far as the spotters, I don't know if I could still be a spotter because I'm old, and I'm old school thinking, and the stuff you have to do now, and you have to watch this SMI, and you're telling them, just after the apex, you need to be a foot lower. That's where you're losing speed to the fastest car. I mean, like, we used to just visually try to help that way, but now you've got actual data, and you're doing that all race long, as well as you're watching oil pressure, you're watching water temperature. Like they go, hey, something's on the grill. You're all right. It's only 200 degrees. You know what I mean? Keep running. Don't look at the gauge. So you got all like this like backup systems. You know what I mean? And again, I as being the senior guy in the sport, I really believe that's why we're wrecking more, as well as you've got some of the guys like Dale Jr. or Joey Logano, a couple of guys will talk about the difference between then and now is most of these guys that are racing now, especially like if taking the Truck Series or in the Busch Series, the Xfinity Series, they're buying their ride. They're not really the pick of the crop. Like in the old days, you had to make it on your performance. Now you have to make it on how much money you can bring to the table, and you have a little driving ability, you know what I mean? So now you have these guys running over each other. They don't work on the car. I mean, again, I go back looking when Dale Earnhardt would pull in the garage, get out of the car, and start jacking it up for the guy so they could go back out, fix it, let's go, come on, get on, I worked for a young man that we went down to Gresham Peach State Speedway in Georgia, and we rented the track to test, and we got down there, and Ryan Newman was there in his Penske car, and Travis Koffel was there in his truck. And I took this kid over and I introduced him to these two guys, and Ryan goes, as an engineer, Ryan goes, do you want to go up in the trailer and look at my traces? And he goes, whatever, yeah. I go, you'll have to tell him what traces are, and he goes, well, we can overlay your laps and his laps and my laps, and I can show you where I'm letting off the throttle and braking and wheel input and all that stuff. So he goes up in there, and his dad's with us, and Ryan takes about 45 minutes with him. Finally, the back door opens in crew chief house. Let's go, Ryan, we're waiting on you, So he said, I'm going out, you guys want to watch us. So we walk out of the trailer, and I'm just backing up what I was saying a minute ago. We walk out of the trailer, and he had a stacker toter home. And his dad goes, where are you going? He says, it's hot out here. I'm not going to watch. This guy who wants to be the next star. I just used a favor, and he don't even want to climb up on the truck and watch him take a couple laps. I mean, I was racing when Dick was still racing late models, and I had, again, I'm going into a story, but again, I'm at Winchester, and my son and somebody else was helping me, and we weren't running very good. I'm going to be honest, I was like 40th, and there was only 36 cars there. And so we're not going to make the race. I don't have a provisional. I don't have, points. And so we came in after testing and the first practice, and I'm sitting in the car and I'm looking at the tire sheet, and Dick was across from me, and he looks at me. This was before this. He looks at me and he goes, up, down, and I go, and give me a minute, you could read his lips. And so I get out of the car, and I don't know what to do. I'm above my pay grade trying to figure out what to do to fix the car. And actually, I was still sitting in the car, and he came over, and I mean, Dick was known for always having a cigarette and a cup of coffee, or one or the other, or both. He comes up and he puts his arm on my window ledge of my car, and he goes, "So what's the problem?" I said, "I think we just totally missed the setup." I go, we're slow. I don't know what else to say. And he goes, "Well, listen, I got to tell you something." He says, you see that trailer right there? And he points to my trailer, and he said, not me, not nobody in this whole garage will care if you want to put that thing on the trailer right now and go home. This is a fast place. It's just not for everybody. He says, and I'm just telling you that as your friend. So don't be ashamed if you want to load it up and go home. And I said, no, Dick, we missed the setup. I says, I'm just not comfortable. We just missed the setup. And he says, well, I'm telling you, and this is a funny part for me. He says, this place is fast, I'm telling you. He says, this place takes big balls. And I looked at him and I said, Dick, I got one under the seat and I'm sitting on the other one. And he says, okay, give me a couple minutes, I'll come back and help you. So he came back and we changed the anti-dive, we changed the accrement, we changed the rear shocks and a spring. Now I don't even know what to expect. Well, literally, when I say we were 40th out of 36 cars, that's how slow we were. I went out and I came in and my son comes running over to the door and he hits me on the chest, Dad, we're 8th. You know, he just put the car under me and I was able to. So Dick had this dry sense of humor, you know, the jokes like I told you. He comes over and he's got the cigarette and he puts his arm in the door and he goes, listen, like I told you before, I don't care, nobody in here would care if you want to put that thing on the trailer and go home now. Now I'm competition.
Now you're running good, right?
Yeah, he was a great guy like that, like a brother to me.
Kyle, how have crew chiefs' roles changed when you started today?
Crew chiefs in the day were mechanics that worked on the car and built shocks and did everything, and you know, and were shoulder to shoulder with everybody. Then crew chiefs were just in charge of the paperwork and setups and what to run, where to run, and how to run. And then then car chiefs came in to implement. And then now with like Matt Borland that came along and people like that, most of the crew chiefs now are not shade tree mechanics, they're engineers. You know, so you see it go to that level where you just, the average guy that had a little common sense and was a good backyard mechanic is like, you know, you're done. You just, you know, you get bold, like in anything. If you're in an industry of some kind, you know what I mean. And I'm not just picking on the young guys or picking on the old guys, but the young guys come in and they got a lot more knowledge and a lot more. I mean, you've got, you know, knowledge in longevity, and you know, but they got cutting edge. Nowadays, I mean, I don't even know how to spell iPhone 8. You know what I mean? So
we're on 17. We're on 17, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't. Oh, my phone's my iPhone 8. Yeah.
So I gotta.
Stick with the new wheel and cup. We've had a lot of wheels come off this year.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that I can explain the difference between our wheels and IMSA and Indy wheels. Indy wheels only have one pin, and you put it on and slide it to that pin. We've got pins that you have to align like putting it on the studs. So that's taking longer. And if you don't get it exactly right, the nut will tighten, but then the wheel's indexing itself. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the wheel comes off because the nut comes off. You know what I mean? So they've made it more complicated than, again, like me, I don't care for engineers. You know what I mean? Just, you know, try to put a starter on your car nowadays. You got to take the manifolds off. You know, take manifolds off.
So I got a statement and a question.
And again, I apologize if anybody in here is an engineer.
So they used to say that spotters drove the cars. Now you're talking back to what you're talking about back in the shop. You got 15 engineers, data acquisition. Talk about driving the cars. That's the statement. The question is, I don't know if you remember all your ARCA and Xfinity and truck NASCAR wins, and if you remember the specifics or not, like I got 5 or 8 or 12, whatever. What's your best win story? Because you won with Chalmerdine.
I don't have too many of them. So
you won with Chalmerdine.
Yeah.
You won with Almirola.
Trickle.
Well, right.
They're all good. I mean, I think that's like what the drivers say too. You know, they can't really say one. You know, now if I go back to that Smokey Unix story that I told you, I've been on a TV interview or a radio interview, and they asked me, "What's your favorite story?" And I go, "I got one I got to tell." I said, "But I gotta swear you know, and they go, well, we can beep it out, you know, and then I tell that story about Smokey Eunuch, and then that's the one that stands out to me the most, because to literally know that he'd been behind me for 20 minutes or half an hour, watching, not necessarily me, and then I got a chance to speak to him. I've seen him over the years, and, you know, never shook his hand, and then to get, like I said, then, hey, good job, son, you know, it's just like, it's pretty right up there. I mean, it's, you know,
Because I always enjoyed your the trickle stories, yeah, but the Shelmerdine ARCA race, how you'd set that up.
well, in Atlanta, back when we they changed the front stretch to the back stretch, and we were still spotting from the back stretch, which was the front stretch. And I'm spotting for Kurt Shelmerdine an ARCA race, but I'm also doing the Xfinity race and the Cup race for Trickle. And so I'm doing the Xfinity race, or the ARCA race for Shelmerdine, and we're running fourth on the lead last car on the lead lap. It's getting dark. It was raining on and off. They've been running laps under the yellow, trying to finish the race and get it in the books. They really didn't have lights there yet. You know, I mean, they had it like candlelight lit, a couple here and there, you know. And I can't think of his name now. He was driving the pace car for NASCAR at that time. And
Elmo?
no, Elmo had
Todd Bodine?
No. Anyway, he was also the director of competition on the Cup side. Otten, Buster
Wayne.
Otten.
Oh, Buster, gotcha.
Anyway, so we're running around there, and the caution was out, and they're trying to decide whether to pit or not. And as a spotter, I tried not to put my 2 cents in very often. And him and the car chief and the owner, crew chief, are talking back and forth. And, well, you decided your car, you know, I think we should pit. And so I came on the radio and I said, you know, we're fourth. I said, they're talking about dropping the checker because it's getting dark, it's raining, the grandstands are empty, people have left. I said, you know, if you stay out, even if those guys in front of us pit, the worst you're going to run is fourth. You know, and so Shelmerdine goes around a few more laps, and he goes, yeah, I think that's a good idea. You know, we should probably do what Kyle said. So then Clements owned the car, Jeremy Clements' dad. He came on, he goes, yeah, that works for me. We could do that. We'll save the money on the tires, you know. So first and second pit, now they come back out in their third and fourth, and we're second. And back then it was still single file restarts, not the double file restarts. And those two knuckleheads are racing so hard for third and fourth, they wrecked each other. And so back then it was also race back to the line, to race back to the checker, because it was green, white checker. Anyway, and so I'm telling Kurt Shelmerdine, run as hard as you can, run as hard as you can. They're wrecking behind you. This is it. This is the end. This is the end. So he went into 3 and did the old 8 tires are better than 4, and he ran in under the guy, bounced off him, and we went on to win the race. And being a small team like that, underfunded, and then Kurt got me the job with Earnhardt back in the day, and then I'm spotting for him, and that one really meant a lot too. You know, that was.
Thank you very much. It's very enjoyable hearing the stories. My question is, can you comment on the current status of health of NASCAR, say, versus Formula One?
I think there's no comparison. You know, you get 100,000, 200,000 people every race, whether they're in France or they're in Nuremberg or they're, you know, in Spain, whatever, and the fans are just unbelievable. I mean, and just the dress that they wear, the cheering, just the admiration, and you know,
soccer.
You also have to take in consideration, you got to remember that F1, most of the F1 teams, except for the Haas team, is the country owns it. The country funds it. You know what I mean? So there's no Kyle Harvey team, you know, with trying to find the money. And I mean, Carl Haas is Gene Haas is a billionaire, so I mean he can do his own team. But so they got the country behind them, and that makes the people the same. You know what I mean? And you know, when you're over in Europe, it's like going from Charlotte to Atlanta, or you know, I mean, you're going all over the country, but you're not getting, you know what I mean, you're not flying or going across the ocean. And so, and then the other side of that is that I had a good run, but it's not the same. NASCAR is really messing up. They're doing something. They're just not. The seats are empty. The TV thing is down. One of the things that even Denny Hamlin commented on it now is that the TV package, in order to keep the same money for the drivers and for themselves in NASCAR, this is giving you really background story on what NASCAR is all about too. They sold themselves out to networks that are like everything in TV. They want to go to like a podcast system, you know. So now, between Saturday and Sunday, every week, you got to look around to find them where they're at, and half the time you don't have that channel, unless you subscribe to it or rent it for the day. So I mean that you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You know what I mean? It just
And CW half the time has soccer on half the time.
Right.
For the Xfinity race.
Well, that locally here in Charlotte, they've had some soccer tournaments going on at the
Detroit too.
big football stadium in Charlotte, Panther Stadium, and you find it and it says it's on the CW. You put the CW on, there's soccer on. Well, that even, and this is their fault, whether it's CW, you know, the network or NASCAR or both, they don't have like a ticker tape running at the bottom saying if you tuned in to watch the NASCAR race, it's over here. You got to go try to find it. So now you're going through every channel, hoping that you don't pass it. You know, trying to find. It's awful. I mean, and what, you know, we went. It's just like next week. Everything for the Xfinity is not televised except the race. There's no practice televised. There's no qualifying televised. It's on a app. So now you got to subscribe to an app to watch the preliminary stuff. You know, well, I got a dog in the fight, you know, and I want to see how they're doing. I can't find it. And I also not smart enough to know how to find it on my phone, you know what I mean, or on a computer. I mean, it's there. I just don't go there, you know what I mean? And I know that's the modem of transportation now, but you know, I got gray hair and it's not for me yet. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, and I think that they're just hurting themselves that way also. I mean, if you want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and F1's on, anytime you want to watch it, anywhere they're at in the world, you know what I mean? And here another example of what I'm saying is that certain teams will post the schedule, the TV schedule. NASCAR doesn't do it. The affiliates don't do it. Why isn't that every week NASCAR, as the series promoter, just do that on social media so you can find it? You know what I mean? It's just like it's the weirdest things are going on that
no more practice.
And I think again, I'm just talking from I'm an old guy. Been on the good side, been when it was going up and then it went over the other side of the roller coaster. We don't have people in NASCAR now at all that are racing people. We have all business people, you know, and so I think that's part of one of the problems. You know, they're dollar and cent people. They're, you know, I mean, and racing doesn't work that way. What they're currently trying to do now, and they're talking about it, and I can give you an illustration of that. They're talking about changing the system back to the way it used to be. You know, with the 1 point system for the whole year. Like you could take now, and still they're in the final 8 right now. One guy could be in and then win and accidentally back into a win and be in the final 4. And all he's got to do in the final 4 is finish ahead of any of those other 3 guys, and he's the champion. In the meantime, like in Xfinity, you know, you got the guy that drives for Dale Earnhardt. He's got 10 wins.
Yeah.
He might get knocked out.
Yeah.
How the heck can you have 10 wins on a season and not play for the championship? It's just, but I'm sorry, I'm getting a little loud and it
You're not live.
it also they're going to change it back, but the illustration I want to use is Bruton Smith bless him for everything he's done in racing and trying to keep racing like it is. He rebuilt Bristol 3 times
Yeah.
based on public opinion. And then the 4th time they changed it back, you know what they changed it back to? The original configuration of the racetrack.
Yep.
And the people that of public opinion said, so racing is so much better. How could it be better? It's the same way as it was 8 years ago, 10 years ago, you know what I mean? It just, these are the things that, it's like the media doesn't talk about that,
Fan means fanatic.
I would also add to all of those elements that the coverage on NBC is horrible.
I think Fox, they all are. They're all terrible.
Well, NBC, I've heard them call out the wrong driver in a car. I've heard them call out the wrong team owner, and they're really just immersed in this DEI thing. They have people that have never been to a race, and they're calling the race.
Well,
That's
I mean,
crazy.
and another thing, I'm going to stick up for him because I don't dislike him. I think he does a good job, but there's so many people negative toward Lee Diffie.
Oh, I don't
You
like
know,
him at all.
and he's very knowledgeable. He knows the sport.
He loves to hear himself talk.
There you go. Thank you. But I couldn't stand Darrell Waltrip when he was in the booth because it was me, I when I was,
Yeah.
and it's like you get, it gets old. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah, I'd rather have a good Southern boy doing the race rather than Lee Diffie.
man, I tell you, I thought
Rather someone from Brooklyn.
Benny Parsons was one of the best.
Yeah.
Even when he was a D's, them, and those guys, you know what I mean? Kind of, he didn't articulate very good, but he was just the seat of the pants. They go, I think he blowed the rear end. Now
he
these
did.
other guys. I think the differential's leaking. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's like people don't know the rear end or the differential. You know what I mean? But technically they want to be correct.
Kyle, explain to some of these people probably don't understand how with the sponsorship, now with some of these tracks, you see like where there used to be seats, now you see like a big logo because something about paying for the seats.
It started in Vegas, and then Charlotte, because they're all Bruton Smith tracks too. You have to pay entertainment tax per seat.
So that's why they're covered?
Well, yeah, and you have to pay it whether someone's sitting in it or not. So rather than take it out, if you sell enough tickets, you take them banners down. But if the banners are on it, you don't pay tax on it.
You make
And
money.
so that,
Off the banners.
and another, this is just me again, spitballing. NASCAR gets on TV every weekend, sold out crowd. It ain't sold out. They try not to show the grandstands. And the fact that every track, including the Bruton Smith tracks and the France family tracks, they took out 40% of the seats. And you're still not selling it out, even though you're saying you're selling it out. And I'm the guy that when the race got over at 8 o'clock at night at Charlotte, I didn't get home till 2 o'clock in the morning because of traffic. I'm the guy that it took 4 hours to get out of Bristol just to get to the highway. I'm the guy, you know what I'm saying? So I was there. I'll give you another example of that. We were at, when back in the day, again, I keep talking old guy here, but back in the day, we would fly in on Wednesday and you'd unload. And you'd be, so when Thursday, when you walked in the door, you're ready to practice. And you would tack, so we were at Dover. And so Wednesday is tech, you unload and tech. They had 30,000 people sitting in the grandstands in the rain watching us push the cars through tech. They don't get 30,000 people for a race now, And then on the other side of that, a couple of years ago, the media, live TV, interviewed this couple that had been going to Daytona since 1959. This is probably 3 or 4 years back. They've been going since 1959, going to Daytona. They parked on Lake Lloyd. So now they've improved that, and you got cable TV, and you got electric, and you got dump for your sewer and all that kind of stuff. They said just to park where they park was $5,000 plus you had to buy the tickets. So they said, this is a few years back on live TV, they said they weren't coming to Daytona anymore after 30 years or whatever it was, because they could take cruises and do more in a year for what it costs to go to Daytona for 1 week. And I have friends of mine that from Illinois that used to go to Daytona every year, and then they would come down here for the fall race at Charlotte. And they quit coming to the fall race in Charlotte because the year before they had been coming here and they'd visit with me, and that the year before the ticket prices, even though the NASCAR had got on a decline. Man, I might get up in Lake Norman for saying all this stuff. They were at the beginning of pit road in the center from top to bottom of the grandstands. 2 tickets for the Xfinity race was $1,200. 2 tickets for the Cup race was $1,600. And then another example I give you, my mother wanted to go to Darlington in the worst way. So the Trickle family said, well, bring her, she can hang out at the motorhome. And so I got to get her down there Friday, so I call around, and again, and this is not the racetrack's fault, but the racetrack could help it some way, somehow. I can't believe they can't, but it was a 3-night minimum, and it was $300 a night. My mom only slept there Friday night, my mom and I. She went home Saturday after the race, and and I was there till Sunday, so I had my own room. But I mean, $900 to get my mom an opportunity to go to a race. I mean, it just they've been beating up on the public is where I'm going with this.
Absolutely.
That they burned them out. They're just
Well, 10 years ago, Lori and I were representing the hall at the Daytona 500 for the Legends, the week before the race. We were staying at the Streamline where NASCAR was invented.
Correct.
And it was $88 a night. The night before the race, the night of the race, $500 a night, same room. We had to move out to Maryville to be able to afford a room.
I'm going to tell you a bad story about me, but about my mentality, I guess, and I don't want you to hold it against me. I try to be a good person. I'm like Ed will tell you, I've been trying to go to Bible study for a couple of years now. I'm just trying to be a better person.
His penance.
Anyway, I call it insurance. You know what I mean? Anyway,
Gold Cross.
I went to Daytona one year from Illinois, drove down, and I got a room on the inside of A1A. And it was a older place that had a terrazzo floor, if you guys know what I mean. And the first night I was there, it was $25 a night till the 125s. Now they're 150s on Thursday. And so every day I was at the track helping an ARCA guy, and then I was going to New Smyrna at night. I'd get back at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the room's not made up. And I don't have towels for the morning. I used the 2 towels they gave because it's a little cheapy place. $25 a night. I'm going back quite a few years. Anyway, so on Wednesday it goes to $75 a night, and on Thursday it goes to $125 a night. And I'm still not getting clean towels, but at least I'm smart enough to hang my towel up when I leave in the morning. And I was so mad that if any of you have been down to Daytona and you go to the south end of the beach near South Daytona, there's a Piggly Wiggly down there in an Ace Hardware store next door. I drove down to there from the north end of town, and I bought 3 bags of concrete mix. And I was checking out anyway, so I put a bag and a half in the toilet, I put a bag in the sink, and I put a bag in the bathtub, and I cleaned up so you couldn't tell that I poured it in there. So with a terrazzo floor, they had to come in with jackhammers.